Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the GSL-English Podcast. Yes, it's that time of the week. Whether you are watching on YouTube, as always, you know what I'm going to give you, a visual wave. But if you are listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, or if you are a lovely member of the GSL-English Club on Patreon, I'm going to give you an audible doffing of the hat and an audible wave. So I hope you got that. How are you all doing? I hope you've had a good week. I think most of us have been back to work this week after perhaps some time off, eating too much food. So it's back to work over this last week. So I hope you have had a good week at work. I hope you've had some time to study the English language. But you know, if you haven't, don't worry about it. Just take some time to get back into that routine. And that is exactly the reason we have this podcast. So chuck this podcast on and get on with whatever you need to in your busy life and just have me playing on in the background. I understand life is busy, but maybe you take time to watch and listen to these podcasts with a cup of tea. Maybe you sit down with a coffee on a Sunday morning and think, I'm going to spend some time with that random British guy. For whatever reason, or in whatever way you are listening to this podcast, thank you. Thank you for your support. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, firstly, we had our first email. We got our first email question. So we're going to read the email out and then I will talk about it. We're going to look at an interesting quote about persistence, probably one of my favorite quotes. But the main theme of today's lesson is weird facts and observations about life. So we're going to go just through some weird statements, questions, facts that are surprisingly true or just get you thinking. They're almost mind-boggling. And by boggling, I mean confusing. You know, those questions that really get you thinking. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to ease our way in 2024 and just have a nice, relaxed conversation today. So, email. I would love to do this every week. So if you do want to send me an email, it can honestly be about anything. Even if you want to tell me a story that you would like me to read out, tell me about your relationship with the English language, or if you've got any questions you'd like me to answer, or any suggestions for future podcasts, you can email me on GSL-English1@gmail.com. I had to think about that. Yeah, GSL-English1@gmail.com. Send me any email on there. You can honestly say whatever you want. And if I like it, I'll read it out. So today's email is from Harley. Harley, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, please forgive me. But it's a fantastic email and raised a very good question. So this is it. Hello. First, I would like to have a nice day and thank you for your efforts. When I was watching your last video, you asked us to send a question for you, which I did, and you listened, Harley. You're the only person that listened, so yes, well done. Now I try to handle with intermediate plateau, and I don't know how I can get over this. I watched a lot of videos about this. I hope you can answer my question. Also, I like your shadowing videos. Best regards. Well, I'm glad you like my shadowing videos. Yeah. They're just videos I provide where you can practice your pronunciation and fluency on YouTube. So check those out. But the question that Harley has raised is how to deal with plateau when learning a language. And plateau is just that point where it stays like this. Because ideally, when we're learning a language, we want it to keep going up, don't we? We want, we have good days and bad days, but that chart of progress is always positive. But if we're being completely honest, we sometimes plateau. We get to that point where we don't seem to be improving. Or in English, we say that you've hit a wall. Hit a wall. You've got to get over it. Now, the best suggestion I can give with this is to take your study routine and just turn it on its head. Completely change your study routine. Try something new. Even if this is just for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you almost want to shock your system. It's like going to the gym. If you just do the same exercises for 3 to 6 months, you will see improvements. But your body will get used to them. Your muscles will just get used to those movements, those exercises, and you won't see as much of an improvement, if any. You need to shock your system. So you do different exercises, you mix it up, and then your body is shocked and it starts growing. Your muscles start growing again. So we need to do this with the English language. We need to kind of shock our system, which at first is extremely difficult. And that is the reason that a lot of people don't want to do this. Because when we shock our system, when we go out of our comfort zone, we'll probably find that we're not very good at that particular area. And that's not very encouraging. But don't worry about that. Just go for it. So what I mean by this is perhaps you listen to the same podcasts. Perhaps you watch the same movies. Oh, hit my microphone again. I seem to do that once every episode. You watch the same movies. Maybe you read the same books. You study the same website. Change it up completely. Read a new book. Listen to a new podcast. If there's a particular way that you learn vocabulary, try something completely different. Try using new idioms. Try learning new phrasal verbs. Don't study and focus on what you already know. Completely change it up. So I don't know what your study routine is, but if you are listening, reading and writing, mix that up. Write something new. Listen to something new. If you're learning vocabulary, focus on words that are completely out of your comfort zone. Focus on vocabulary that you've never looked at before and just shock your system. So that would be my suggestion. But of course, often when we get to that plateau, we get disheartened and then our consumption of the English language diminishes or it goes down. So if you've hit that plateau, I would up how much you are taking in. So be consistent no matter what, but try and find more time to absorb more of the language. Just doing as much as you can to really engage your brain again. Get it working. It's not always easy, but if we're learning something new, we don't always want it to be easy. We want it to be challenging and stimulate our thought process. So that would be my suggestion, Harley. I hope that helped. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but thank you for the email if you are watching this. Again, if you would like to send me any emails, any thoughts, tell me a story, say absolutely anything, please do. GSL-English1@gmail.com. Okay, very good. Now, I just wanted to share a quote with you. Now, it's one of my favorite quotes. It's by a guy called Calvin Coolidge. And he said this: "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence." Now, the quote goes on, but we won't go through the whole thing today. It's a brilliant quote. But that first line, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. And on Instagram recently, I asked my followers, what are you proud of? And somebody said, I'm proud of my persistence towards the English language. And I just thought that was such an interesting comment. Persistence really is essential. And persistence is that quality, is that idea of never giving up. If you are persistent, you do not quit. You do not stop. And isn't it true that nothing in the world can take the place of that persistence? We have to be persistent if we want a business to take off, to be successful. Unless we are really lucky, we have to be persistent for a long time. If we want to learn to play an instrument, we have to be determined. We have to be persistent in practice, in learning. And it's the same with the English language. Persistence is essential. We just have to keep on going. We have good days and we have bad days. We have days where we understand new vocabulary, where we can use idioms and expressions, and then days where we don't. Don't be disheartened. As Calvin Coolidge said, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Don't underestimate the power of that in your learning of English. Consistency and persistency are absolutely incredible things. So I wouldn't give up. Please just think about that. Be persistent with your learning. It truly is a powerful quality. Very good. So a little bit of motivation there for your Sunday morning. Okay, let's get into the main part of today's podcast. Facts and observations about life. So as I said, I've just compiled some interesting statements, questions, and facts to get us thinking today. So if you have any comments on any of these facts or whatever we're going to talk about, please let me know. I would be really interested. Okay, so the first one we are going to look at is, just getting my recording set up, because I did do this before, but it's just decided not to work. Okay, let me just get there. So, all right, okay, there we go. Panic over. I promise I was prepared. I did have everything set up. But okay. The first point that we are going to look at. There are two E's in B, but they are both silent. There are two E's in bee, as in the insect, a bee, but they are both silent. Very true. There are. Because if you think about it, bee, we're just elongating the B letter. There are two E's in bee, but they are both silent. It's also similar to the why is there a D in fridge, but none in refrigerator? Why is there a whole selection of letters in the word Q? Q-U-E-U-E. But we're only saying the letter Q. Is it unnecessary? I don't know. But that's a very interesting point. There are two E's in B, but they are both silent. Okay, next question. Are eyebrows considered facial hair? Are eyebrows considered facial hair? I probably should have put a bit of a warning that there's some weird questions in here. Now, this is interesting because, of course, eyebrows are on our face, but I don't really consider eyebrows to be facial hair. What about you? I do not consider eyebrows to be facial hair. I consider like a moustache and a beard, which if you're loyal members of this podcast, you'll know I'm trying to grow a beard. But yeah, are eyebrows considered facial hair? My answer would be no. Hear me out. Oh, I guess they are because they're on the face, but whenever I think about eyebrows, I don't think of them as facial hair. Again, let me know. What do you think? Okay, this is a next interesting point. Don't you dare is technically do not you dare. So when we say don't you dare, often we might say it to a child or, I don't know, somebody we don't want them to do something. We will say, don't you dare do that. Don't you dare. Basically saying, do not do it. But it's very true that when we think of don't, of course it is a contraction, which is the combination of two words. Don't is do not. So technically, when we say don't you dare, we are saying do not you dare. Which I think in Old English was okay, do not you dare. So next time we say don't you dare, technically we should be saying do not you dare do that. Do not you dare do that. Don't you dare is technically do not you dare. Very interesting. Okay, this next one really got me thinking. Really got me thinking indeed. Okay, so if a person tells you they are a pathological liar, can you believe them? So by pathological, we mean that it is in their brain, they can't stop doing it. Now, this question is just a paradox in a paradox. A paradox is a logically self-contradictory statement or a statement that runs contrary to one's expectation. It is a statement that, despite apparent valid reasoning from true premises, leads to a seemingly self-contradictory or a logically unacceptable conclusion. Basically, a paradox is a self-contradictory statement. A statement that is basically saying in itself that it is wrong. So if somebody says, I am a pathological liar, they are basically saying that they lie all the time. It's in their DNA. They cannot stop lying. So in that statement in itself, that would mean that they are lying. So we can trust them. Do you get it? I'm not sure if I do. If a person tells you they're a pathological liar, can you believe them? So basically they're saying that I lie all the time. But then that would mean that they are lying now. It is a paradox. It is self-contradicting. And if we contradict ourselves, we're going against what we have said. For example, maybe somebody says, I hate Taylor Swift. Then you catch them listening to Taylor Swift. They're contradicting their statement. So this is self-contradictory. So despite reasoning, we can't agree to that logic. So if a person tells you they're a pathological liar, can you believe them? Great word that. Try saying it with me. Pathological. Pathological. I would say no. We can't still believe them. Okay. I like this. I included this next one because some of you might know I love cats. The world's oldest cats live to 38 years and 3 days old. Cream Puff. That is a great name for a cat. Cream Puff was the oldest cat to ever live. Cream Puff. I kind of feel sorry for the cat that it was called Cream Puff. Yeah, Cream Puff. Cream Puff. Anyway, 38 years old. That's 4.5 years older than me. I am 33. I love my cat, and I would give anything for my cat to live to 38 years old. But that is an incredible age, isn't it? 38 years old. I would be intrigued to know the state of the cat at 38 years old. But yeah, how incredible. Well done, Cream Puff. Have you got any? You've got a cat. Are you a cat or a dog person? I love dogs. To be honest, I love all animals, but I am a cat lover. Okay, this is interesting one, guys. Lego bricks. So by Lego, we mean that I've got one here actually. You can see if you're watching on Zoom, you can see holding up a Lego car. It's that toy that I don't know why I'm explaining Lego. Everybody knows what Lego is, but those bricks that you kind of build amazing things with. I love Lego. I really do. Lego bricks withstand or can take compression, the force compression, compressing something together better than concrete. An ordinary plastic Lego brick is able to support the weight of 375,000 other bricks before it fails. This, theoretically, or in theory, would let you build a tower nearing 3.5 kilometers in height. Scaling this up to house-sized bricks, however, would cost far too much. So what I take from this is that the only issue is cost, that the world should really be built in Lego. We could all be living in the Lego movie, but the only issue is cost. But Lego is amazing. I think Lego is such an incredible thing because it joins families together. I love building Lego on my own, with my nephew, my family. And they've really kind of now, Lego has marketed in such a clever way, going for Star Wars, cars, Disney. Everything everybody loves, you can build. I do maintain that Lego is more for adults now. But I want to live in a world where we get rid of concrete and say yes to Lego. That'd be amazing. Okay, have you heard the expression, I'll be back in a jiffy? I'll be back in a jiffy, which means I won't be long. I'll be back soon. Well, I didn't know this, but a jiffy is an actual measure of time. It is calculated at 1/100th of a second. Bit of pronunciation practice there. 1/100th of a second. This is 10 milliseconds. So when somebody says, I'll be back in a jiffy, they're technically saying, I will be back in 10 milliseconds. But we don't mean that. When we say that we'll be back in a jiffy, we're saying that we won't be long. My mum always used to say this. After school, we'd have to pop into the post office or the little corner shop. She'd say, don't worry, Gideon, or boys, because me and my brother are in the back. I'll be back in a jiffy. So mum was a liar. Because what she actually meant was, I'll be back in 10 milliseconds. And I can tell you, a jiffy then used to go on, and we'd be waiting in the back of this boiling hot car, doing nothing, just annoying each other. Okay, the next statement is very true of myself. I'm not coming to the party, but I still want to be invited. Do you relate to that? Because I certainly do. I don't want to go to a party, but I want to be invited. I want to have, the nice feeling that I've been invited out, but I still want to stay home with my cats and build Lego. I don't know if anybody can relate to that statement. I'm not coming to the party, but I still want to be invited. As I get older, the more and more I don't want to go to parties. I just want to stay at home, watch movies, and yeah. But I would like to be invited to a party. I would like an invitation to say no to. Whether you can relate to that. Okay. Keep an eye on your cornflakes. Cornflakes is that traditional cereal made from corn. Specifically shaped cornflakes can be sold on eBay. So, quite a long process. I guess you'd have to open a box of cornflakes and look at them all individually. But a cornflake in the shape of Illinois once sold on the e-commerce platform for a total of $1,350. The buyer of this single flake stated that he wanted it for his traveling museum. Well, I think the buyer of this cornflake has way too much money on his hands. He bought a cornflake. How much is a box of cornflakes? Let's say a maximum of £3. Maximum of £3. Bought a cornflake in the shape of Illinois. Wow. Interesting though. You can really sell anything these days. There's a business for if you have time and that kind of money-making mind, you can make a lot of money. Is there a particular shape cornflake that you would buy? Let's say over £100. Is there a particular shape of cornflake you would buy? For me, if it had the shape of Darth Vader's helmet, so Darth Vader's helmet, I might consider it. Not going to lie. But yeah. Okay. The average 4-year-old child asks over 400 questions a day. The average 4-year-old child asks over 400 questions a day. I could agree to this. Probably the most common question is, why? Why? Yeah. The average 4-year-old child asks over 400 questions a day. I don't have children, but I can imagine that that is true. Now, this one really got me thinking. If you enjoy wasting time, is that time really wasted? If you enjoy wasting time, is that time really wasted? That's a really interesting question. Because surely we're not wasting time if we do something we enjoy. But maybe our enjoyment is wasting time. So is that time really wasted? But I guess it depends on our definition of a waste of time, because a waste of time is using our time for something that, I was going to say we don't need, but when we enjoy doing something, we often don't need it. For example, building Lego. Is that a waste of time? I guess it depends what parameters we are putting a waste of time in. If a waste of time is just doing something that either doesn't make us money or we don't learn, then a lot of my life is a waste of time. But I would agree with this. I would say it's not a waste of time. If you are doing something you enjoy, if you're doing something that's making you happy, it's not a waste of time because you've got something from it. Okay, and the last one we are going to consider today. Why is it that when you are driving and looking for an address, you turn down the volume of the radio? I am guilty as charged with this. Why is it that when you are driving and looking for an address, you turn down the radio? I do this like it's going to help me. It's going to help my visual capabilities. I guess it's just an element of concentration, but I would be really interested to know if you do this. When you're driving and perhaps you're looking for an address or you're just looking for a particular road or street, you turn down the volume. Or my dad would say, shh, in the back of the car, shush, I'm trying to find the address. Well, you don't need your eyes, Dad. No, sorry, you do need your eyes. You don't need your ears, Dad. Just use your eyes. Look out for that. Maybe you do that. Turn the volume down when you're looking for an address or doing something in particular. Very good. So there you go. That is the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other weird, wonderful facts and questions about life, send them through to me and we can consider them in a future podcast. But thank you so much for joining me today. I do truly hope that you enjoyed this. Thank you for subscribing on whatever platform. Thank you to my lovely Patreon members. If you would like to join the GSL English Club, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below. There I post lessons every single day to help you improve your English. But there's, of course, absolutely no pressure. Have an amazing day, guys. Have a good week ahead. Even if you're busy, try and find something to do in English every day. Listen on the way to work or whatever it is. Just do something and be persistent. Don't give up. All right, guys. Have an amazing Sunday and I'll see you all soon. Have a good one.